don't need to wear this. It's not helping. What's up, guys? My name's Kodo. Hang on. This got messed up. Okay. What's up, guys? My name's Kodo. I'm kind of new to the YouTube space, but I'm a longtime Magic player. I've seen a lot of discourse online about the recent Spider-Man Across the Omen Paths set, and as someone new on the scene, I just wanted to throw my hat in the ring and get this take that I have off my chest. I don't mean to bury the lead, but first I just want to let you guys know that I stream Forge on Twitch most weekdays, so give me a follow on there. I'm the same username there as I am here. If you're interested in Forge Adventure and you like the idea of playing Magic without financially supporting WotC. Yeah, and without further ado, let's get to it. Here's my hot take. Whoops. Without further ado, here's my hot take. Spider-Man is the worst Magic set ever made in the 30-plus year history of the game. I'm going to explain why I think this, but first just remember, subjectivity is implied in everything I say. My opinion is my own, and while I may get hyperbolic in an attempt to be lighthearted, I don't wish any ill on anyone who worked on the set. I still love the game of Magic, and if you like Spider-Man, the Spider-Man set, that's okay. But you must know that if you do, you are in the extreme minority here. The response to this set has been overwhelmingly negative. Here's just a few examples that I've seen of people talking shit about this set online. Even the Command Zone, one of the biggest Magic channels and one of the most positive, generally, couldn't even pretend to be happy with the direction that Wizards has been going in. Most of these big channels have given balanced takes on the subject. They've highlighted what they believe does and does not work about the set, but as far as I can tell, there's no one passionately defending the Spider-Man set. The response has been nothing short of freezing cold. Barely anyone showed up at the MagicCon panel teasing the art for it, according to Brian Kibler. And while there's no official sales data out, the vibe is that very few people are actually buying these cards. I've seen people post on social media that they are finding booster boxes that are 30 or even 40% off MSRP, which is insane if true for a set that just came out, especially considering how Magic cards have been so expensive lately. I'm going to go through and talk about how bad this set is, but before I do, I want to explain why it's the worst set, even compared to other famous stinkers like Dragon's Maze and Homelands. I'm going to talk about the sets mentioned in Strictly Better MTG's top 10 worst set list as the points of comparison, and I'll link his video so you guys can watch it. You can see the thumbnail up there, actually. And for the sake of argument, I'm just going to assume that everybody's top 10 worst Magic set list is the same as his, because I think his is pretty close to the median Magic player's opinion. And the set that he named number one worst wasn't Spider-Man. He thinks that Aftermath is the worst. And listen, he rightfully points out how Aftermath's very existence as an overpriced mini set made it feel like an insult to players who were invested in Standard or the lore of the game. Only 5 cards per pack is ridiculous, and there was also the whole Pinkerton debacle, which made Hasbro out to be some kind of snickering mob villain. The reaction to this set was so bad that they pivoted their plans to do the same thing with Big Score at the last minute, and instead combined Big Score with Outlaws of Thunder Junction as one release. The decision was so last minute that the cards from Big Score still have their own expansion symbol and are listed separately in Gatherer and Scryfall, despite being functionally part of the same set and draft environment. This makes Aftermath look really bad, and it is. But because of its size and the way it was released, I feel like it hardly counts as a full set. And I believe most would agree that if it had been combined with March of Machine originally, no one would have batted an eye. Because in a vacuum, the cards in it are fine, the art is okay, some of the card designs are kind of neat, and none of them break game immersion or have different names across paper and digital releases. The only other set that's strictly better ranked below Spider Man was Homelands. And look, I was barely even alive when Homelands came out, and I have no idea how I would have reacted at the time. But looking back as a Magic player in 2025, Homelands seems fine to me. Sure, the power level of the cards are nothing special, but I'm sure I would have been happy to buy at least a pack or two if I was playing at the time. It introduced the Sangir family in legendary form. Memory Lapse is included in over 8% of all cubes on Cube Cobra, which is an insane number if you think about how many cubes are on there and how many of those cubes include power. I personally play it and Serrated Arrows in my Pauper Cube, which is right over there off camera. Not because I think I'm cooler and smarter and better than Strictly Better MTG, who was like shit talking these cards in his video. No. I personally genuinely think these cards are cool. I like playing with them in 2025. I will never include a Spider Man card in a cube ever because the cards are distractingly hideous. Look at this. What am I. What is. Look at this shit. Look at this. I'm getting ahead of myself though. My point is that Homelands and Aftermath both feel like magic to me. And before you come at me for trash talking anything that doesn't feel like magic, I just want to explain where I stand on the subject. I don't mind Universes Beyond on principle, so long as the worlds are high fantasy. High fantasy means, according to me, that it takes place in a world that's entirely separate from our own, where the planet Earth and its history are entirely absent. High fantasy is escapist, power fantasy fiction. It allows us to imagine worlds, customs, peoples, and phenomena alien from our own. It invites us to take a break from our reality and is often employed to explore real world themes, but from a safe distance. Final Fantasy, Lord of the Rings, even Avatar The Last Airbender and Warhammer 40k all fit the bill. The latter might take place far in the future of our own universe. I don't know that much about it. If it does, you'd have to really know about the lore to figure that out. Speaking as an outsider. High fantasy stories sometimes wink and nod at their audience and hint at the existence of an Earth like ours, but it's always subtle. And at the end of Lord of the Rings, most of the fantasy races sail into the West, maybe to give way to an age of men, not unlike medieval Europe. But it's still high fantasy at its core. You know it when you see it. But Walking Dead, Stranger Things, Doctor Who, Fallout, Jurassic Park, and Assassin's Creed do not fill the bill. These are IPs that bear no resemblance to high fantasy, and as game pieces, they stand out like a sore thumb. If you like any of these sets, I'm sorry to tell you that you're wrong. The inclusion of these IPs in the Magic brand erodes at the very essence of the game. It's symbolic of the enslopification of everything happening all over our culture right now. It's one of the reasons I rarely spend money on anything WotC puts out anymore, despite still being a huge fan. Like, I have the money. I want to spend it. Just give me something good to spend it on. Um, and again, if you're interested in playing Magic but not supporting WotC, you should definitely check out Forge Adventure on itch.io and follow me on Twitch if you're interested in what that is. And listen, I want to talk about Spider-Man, but before I move on, I just need to highlight this point. Magic the Gathering has the potential to be a very influential and profitable brand for Hasbro for a very, very long time. It's their golden goose, and I don't think they have to leave behind the high fantasy aesthetic in order to do so. Such limitations breed creativity. Magic will always be a premium product for high fantasy fans, but it will always be a third-rate product for fans of superheroes or sci-fi or low fantasy. Low fantasy doesn't mean bad fantasy, it's just a different kind of fantasy genre. I see their capitulation to Disney and other IP holders as simply poor business sense. It's as if the leaders at WotC do not believe in their product and brand. Why don't they approach the Henson estate about adapting the Dark Crystal into a Magic set? If they're already in talks with Disney, why not license Aragon? I could say the same for Elder Scrolls, Wheel of Time, or even Dune, which I know technically takes place in our universe, but like with 40k, it's heavily obscured. I can think of dozens more properties that would be really cool Universes Beyond candidates. But comics superheroes? No. To call the comic superhero genre high fantasy is to do it a disservice. Comics like Spider-Man are not escapist fantasies, they are modern myths, directly commenting on modern culture. Give Stan Lee and company credit for their inventing the superhero genre. Heroes who deal with everyday problems and have alter egos, secret identities. Marvel and DC are cultural phenomena all their own, and they deserve better than to be conflated with high fantasy in this way. You want to play a card game with Spider-Man in it? Great. Go play Marvel Snap. Really, it's a good game. I've played it. It does a far better job reimagining superheroes and villains as game pieces than Magic ever could. I'm not trying to be dismissive to fans of superheroes. I'm telling you, there are literally better products out there for you. I know that I'm probably shouting at a brick wall here because people still buy this crap. I personally know people who defend the Fallout cards, despite the fact that Fallout is a semi-realistic sci-fi setting. It's founded on our own collective modern anxieties of nuclear annihilation. The whole point of high fantasy is not to think about the fact that in the real world there are hundreds, if not thousands, of nuclear weapons trained on every major city in the world and ready to fire at a moment's notice. I don't know with what weapons World War III will be fought, but I would much rather settle our differences with a friendly game of EDH. But enough about genre. Some of you just want to play the best game pieces so you can win the most games, and you don't mind a little slop here and there. Well, guess what, tournament grinders? Are you trying to grind for points on MTGO or Arena so you can qualify for large in-person tournaments? Good luck remembering all these Spider-Man cards and their Through the Omen Path versions. Prof made a video about the overabundance of Spider-Men in Spider-Man, and without repeating his words here, there are 20 cards in the set with Spider-Man in the name. Remember when War of the Spark had like 28 planeswalkers and people complained? I can't even imagine how they would have reacted to this back then. You might think that you're above making petty clerical errors, and you would be wrong. Games at the highest competitive level of tournament Magic have been lost because people couldn't distinguish between Borborygmos and Borborygmos Enraged. These kinds of errors happen all the time. But this issue becomes exponentially worse when you consider that all 20 of these cards have a completely different name online. Meet Through the Omen Paths, the twisted, tethered twin of Spider-Man. Like Red in Us, Through the Omen Paths has this hateful, sinister mirror universe vibe, as though its very existence is taunting us. For every card in Spider-Man that is somewhat redeemable, there's an equivalent monstrous version of it. And I don't mean to accuse the artists hired to make these versions of turning in AI-generated images as finished drafts, nor do I want to dismiss the hard work that went into this, but, to put it lightly, these cards just look off. Something is indescribably off about these cards, and I think most people would agree with me on that. The only person I could find online who actually likes Through the Omen Paths is this one small YouTuber, Anna Margaret, who made a great video explaining how all of these cards tie in with pre-existing Magic planes. And while I completely disagree with her positive take on the set, I appreciate her opinion. She says at the start that she's a paid partner of Wizards of the Coast. Her video has less than 1,000 views. The people in the comments seem more excited just to see a shred of positivity about this set than they are about the cards she's actually talking about. I'm not calling her dishonest or a shill. Please don't send hate her way, or I will track you down and I'll force you to look deep into the eyes of Murata, Neuron Hacker. But listen, but the fact that Wizards' attempt to astroturf enthusiasm for the set was received this coolly speaks volumes. Even Sam from Ristic Studies, who made a whole video gushing over the controversial aesthetic of Duskmourn, hasn't dropped a video about this set. Another silent yet deafening blow. Okay, but the cards. What about the cards themselves? Forget Through the Omen Paths, you're saying. No one even plays Arena or Moto anyway. Sure, fine. Let's talk about how truly awful this set is, all the way down to its rotten center, starting with the mechanics. Web slinging is a strictly less cool reskin of ninjutsu. None of the Spiders Matter cards line up thematically or mechanically with any other spider creature card in the game's history, and the Heroes and Villains Matter cards are uninspired and incompatible with any other well-known villains or heroes in Magic. Is Yawgmoth not a villain? Benalish Hero is not a hero? Why? Or why not? And Mayhem is a less cool reskin of Madness. And what were they thinking when they printed Lady Octopus? Mox Amber just became way more problematic now that it can be enabled by Emery, Tamiyo, and now a third blue card that supports artifact strategies for 1 mana. And while I'm hating, I'm just gonna complain about this. I'm gonna go in, okay? Spiders don't hold still when given any other options, it says in Gwen Stacy's flavor text. Spiders famously hold still for days on end, sometimes weeks. Some spiders will hold still even if you touch them and remove them from their burrows because they are so instinctively reliant on their camouflage. You can't tell me Gwen Stacy knows less about spiders than me. And what happened with imposter syndrome? It looks like it was improperly cropped. There's a borderless version of the card which still looks like it's cropped in too far. I'm genuinely baffled by this. The whole butt cheek is missing. Mary Jane Watson's flavor text reads, charismatic and confident, Mary Jane was born for the spotlight, and yet all she does is enhance your other spiders, relegating her to the supporting role. And why does Gobin turn into Fleam, Gobin's creation? Is Fleam not Gobin himself, made anew using goblin science? If Fleam is just his creation, then why isn't he just a token that Gobin creates? You can actually see Gobin in the art of Fleam releasing his creation into the wild. I genuinely can't think of another card that transforms that follows this same logic. Look, I know I sound nitpicky, but I swear I just don't have as many issues with any other Magic set ever released. I have never seen so many terrible, downright baffling design mistakes in one set. There are details that make no sense, but also the entire project makes no sense. At both the macro and micro level, this set is riddled with questionable design choices. And you're telling me it also can't be drafted in the traditional format? And it's also the reason why we're having to wait till next year for Lorwyn, the set that everyone actually wants to buy, which also resulted in the Shocklands getting desynchronized in the standard rotation. Also, it was originally meant to be a small set, like Assassin's Creed, but was changed to a full set because of sales projections. Spider-Man just keeps catching more L's the more I learn about it. Cold Snap introduced iconic cards like Dark Depths and Counterbalance. Mercadian Masks has a unique vibe and gave us Ancestral Mask, my favoritist card in my Evilest Bogles Pauper deck. Arabian Nights might be a bad expansion, but it was the first ever, and it deserves a little slack, and it gave us some zany stuff like Charizard. Fallen Empires gave us High Tide, an archetype all on its own. And Dragon's Maze features my favorite card of all time, Voice of Resurgence. Isn't it so pretty? Prophecy may have been a bad set, but at least all of the cards with alternate arts still had the same name. Oath of the Gatewatch may be forgettable, but at least it didn't passive-aggressively remind me that my rent is due. Assassin's Creed and Aftermath may be the only products in the same ballpark of terribleness as Spider-Man, but at least they were smaller. And if I had to choose between eating a turd or eating a much larger turd, I'd choose the smaller one. Okay. Phew. It felt good to get all of that out of my system. Look, Magic is the best tabletop game ever made, and I'm extremely invested in its stewardship, if you can't tell. If you're still watching, I beg you not to spend a cent on this set. Even if you like Spider-Man, please, for the sake of the future of this game and its community, send WotC a message that we aren't going to put up with the slop anymore. Show them that if they want to make a profit, they need to be more discerning about what property they adapt and how. But please, please do not send hate towards the company or its representatives. Our silent apathy and refusal to buy speaks way louder than any criticism we can levy against them. And this counts doubly if you are a collector, third-party seller, or scalper. Because the more bad sets like this that come out, the less interest there will be in the game as a whole, which will eventually hurt the value of your profit margin, of your collection. And if you just love Spider-Man, check out Marvel Snap. It's free to play, it's fun, it's easy to learn, but hard to master, and it has better art than MTG's Spider-Man set. And it does a better job of illustrating these heroes and villains' powers and personalities through gameplay. Alright, I'm done yapping. Do you disagree with me? Then you're wrong. But feel free to leave a comment anyway, and while you're at it, you might as well like and subscribe and ring the bell, and follow me on Twitch under the same name here, Yas Kodo, for Spider-Man less magic gameplay and chill. Peace.